What is up, Rafaelitos? Welcome back to my channel. We're here at Eckles. This is the Eckles Interchange. The roundabout at Eckles. That's the famous Jaguar standing in the center of the traffic circle and the reflecting pool here at Eckles. And the direction we're looking at is south. We're looking south along Heroes Highway. That's the traffic. Now I'll remind you that it's 7 a.m. It's about 6:45 in the morning. Right, almost 7 o'clock in the morning. This is the traffic heading into Georgetown, 7 a.m. The reason why we're back at this intersection is because since we've been here, this is the last time we're here, they opened the East Coast Bypass Road. Now that is the highway, the new highway to Bagotstown. This one is the Heroes Highway looking north towards Georgetown. At the end of this stretch of Heroes Highway is the traffic circle with an eagle in the center of it, well, maybe a carrion crow, at South Roosevelt Gardens. And this is why we're here. This is the new road, the East Coast Bypass Road that has recently been opened. This is the road that goes all the way to Ogle, goes past Ogle Airport, and then meets up with the Rupert Craig Highway at Ogle and Corridor Park and good for Wacton and so on. So this traffic is new. This is the first, well, it's the second day or the third day the traffic is using this road. And the reason why we're at this intersection to start, because we want to take a look at the road after they've opened it. I don't know that it's been completed, but it's now open. And what you're seeing is cars coming off of Heroes Highway and heading towards the East Coast via this bypass. And we want to look at how they're negotiating this traffic circle. I'll remind you what I said is that this traffic circle is best if it is a overpass. But this is what is happening here. So what you have is trucks heading towards Heroes Highway, heading south on Heroes Highway, then needing to turn, and cars now needing to turn around this traffic circle to the east. And cars normally heading north have to wait, right? They now have to wait to get into this intersection. Notice the motorcycle didn't stop. But what's supposed to happen is these cars that come to this intersection, to the traffic circle, must wait for vehicles in the traffic circle to exit the circle, or to at least pass them before they enter the circle. And what we're having here is confusion. Now the reason why this is a very, very bad solution to this problem is because vehicles in the traffic circle have priority. And once the traffic circle is filled, especially with traffic coming from the south to the north, then it's difficult for other vehicles to enter the traffic circle. And so you get people breaking the law by simply not stopping. That is going to be the source of many accidents. Now the way they've solved this with other traffic circles in the country is they put policemen here to monitor and to direct traffic at the traffic circle. And this is not even rush hour, right? Rush hour is an hour away. 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock is rush hour. We're here at 7, before 7. But this is what is happening here at the Eckles Interchange. And we're here just to see what happens when you open all the roads at this interchange. So far, only 2 of the roads at this interchange were open. That is the Heroes Highway and that highway to Bagotstown. Now all 4 roads are open, and we are actually seeing for the first time what happens, how this interchange works when all 4 roads are open. The other thing we want to do in this video is to take a look at the new government building that is being constructed at, gonna cross now onto the East Coast Bypass Road. They haven't given it a name yet, so I don't know what it's going to be called, but I'm calling it now the East Coast Bypass Road. So let's take a look at the East Coast Bypass Road. Now this end of the road was completed a long time, so this is not the newest part of the East Coast Bypass Road. Right, this is not the newest part of the road, because this part was constructed before the midsection of the road was constructed. I remember the first time I showed you this part of the road under construction. There was no road here. They were still building these retaining walls. So this is some progress. These warehouses, these warehouse buildings, some of them were not yet completed, hadn't been built yet. But I noticed the government was building bridges to enter those lots. So this is one of the entrances to the warehouse and so on. So it's good to come back now that it's completed and take a look at how far it's gone. Now I don't think I'm going to get all the way to the end. The only reason why I'm out here this morning, and it's actually quite late for me, I usually come out here when I'm running at 5 a.m. when the sun is just beginning to rise. But it has been raining consistently every morning for the last 2 months or so. And so I haven't been able to come out early in the day like I normally do. And so when I come out later in the day, it gets really hot because of the sun, right? We're in the tropics. This is summer. The equinoxes. The sun is directly, well, that's actually not directly overhead, but it's still very hot in the tropics. The sun is past the equator, heading to the north to create summer in the south, in the northern hemisphere. And it gets really hot by 9 a.m., 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. So I usually try to get out of the sun by 8 or 9 a.m. And so if it rains in the morning, it usually ruins my recording schedule, because I record videos when I go for my morning run. Somebody's asking me in the comments of the previous video, why would I go to all this trouble to walk so far to get footage? No, it's the opposite. It's the exact opposite. I run as a daily routine, exercise routine, and I take footage when I'm on my morning run. So the footage you get for this channel is coincidental. Right, it just happens because I happen to be in this neck of the woods on this day. So this is a new warehouse complex that was built since the last time we were here. I was asking in a previous video, why are there so many warehouses in this neck of the woods? The reason is because the oil and gas industry, which has money to spend and which needs warehouses, this is usually the landfill. This is where the landfill is located. Hags Bosch landfill. In fact, that mountain of dirt in the distance, that's actually the landfill. That's all the trash from Georgetown over the last 2 or so decades. So yes, the point is that about these warehouses is because the oil and gas industry has the money to spend. All these companies have come in from abroad. The first thing they do is they build warehouses to pre-position their equipment and their stock supplies and so on. So what has happened over the last 5 years or so is that the oil and gas companies have bought up all of the prime land. So all along Heroes Highway now are warehouses, dozens of warehouses, as we saw in the last video on the subject. And so because there's no planning, the government is not planning how to use these new lands that have become open because of these roads. These roads now provide access to prime lands, and the government has no zoning regulations in this prime land area now open up by the road. All the oil and gas companies are moving in and building warehouses. So whereas we could have had a zone for, say, medical parks or industrial parks for all the mechanic shops, all the mechanical engineers, we could have had a recreational park, sort of like Disney World, where you have all these companies like SeaWorld and Disney and Universal Studios and all these other companies zoned for recreational parks and theme parks. None of that planning is going into Guyana's development. And so what you're getting is haphazard construction where the people with the money, in this case the oil and gas industry, is taking over the majority of the prime land. And what they're building is warehouses. Warehouses are ugly. There are these massive structures that are unsophisticated. They have no architectural appeal or design merit. And that is what is dominating all the prime real estate along Heroes Highway now. And I assume that is what's going to happen along this new highway. This is the East Coast Bypass Road. We're heading a little bit east so that we can capture some of the new developments here. In other words, I want to see what the new highway looks like now that it's open. This traffic is all fresh traffic from the East Coast. Traffic coming towards me is coming off of the East Coast at Ogle, right at Good for Wacton, that intersection that I've shown in so many videos. And traffic heading east away from me is heading towards Ogle, either Ogle Airport or the East Coast at the junction with the East Coast Public Road, that is the Rupert Craig Highway or the Railway Road, both of which intersect with this bypass road along. Some of this traffic is also just experimenting with the road. In other words, see the motorcycle just whipped past me on the opposite side heading west. I think some of this traffic is just coming out here for the drive to see what the new highway looks like. But all of this traffic is on the new East Coast Bypass Road, which is at this length, at this section of it heads east-west. So the highway, this one we're walking on, East Coast Bypass Road, is about 12 kilometers long, which is a little over, 7 miles? Maybe 8 miles. So it's a little over 8 miles. The last time I measured it felt like 9 miles. So yeah, it could be as much as 9 miles. I measured it with this GPS on my Adidas running app. So I have an app on my iPhone that I use to measure the distance I run every morning. And last time I covered the length of this East Coast Road from Ogle to Eckles, the app told me it was 9 miles. So I'm guessing it's coming around 8 to 9 miles, or somewhere around 12 kilometers. So we've just gone past We've just gone past the Hags Bosch landfill. This mountain of earth is actually concealing all the trash that is collected from Georgetown and its surrounding areas over the last decade or so. Has been piled on that trash heap. Right, the landfill, that's the Hags Bosch landfill. Yeah man, that's where we are. And
distance 4 miles. Duration 1 hour 23 minutes 35 seconds. Pace 28
I guess he dropped something
minutes,
or
16 seconds per mile.
He's riding the wrong way on the new highway. I'm guessing he turned the wrong way or forgot that or didn't realize he was going in the wrong direction. Again, breaking the law, but that's Guyana, unfortunately. Lots of accidents have occurred here, some of them fatal over the last several days. And the reason is people have been breaking the law. It's been raining a lot. People have been speeding and losing their lives as a result. People still don't understand why I don't drive in Guyana. Comes down to a mathematical calculation. That's a probability. And my calculation is that the probability of me getting killed on any of the roads in Guyana is not 0. It's actually much higher than any other country I've driven in. Even walking on the street, I've been hit by cars on at least 3 occasions. Once quite seriously. So I don't drive because it's dangerous to drive in Guyana, and somehow that is not being addressed by the new roads. Anyway, so at this point you can see the median with the black and white stripes tells you this is where the Indian government part of the road constructed by the Indian government begins, right? See the black and white stripe? I mentioned that in previous videos and people ask me, what does it mean and why am I highlighting it? Well, if you look at the median in the previous section, the median is painted with yellow paint, right? See the yellow paint? That is actually what is done in British road safety rules and regulations. The yellow and the black and yellow, it's supposed to be high visibility paint. This black and white is something you find in India, you find in parts of Africa. And part of the problem is that the government does not have a building code that regulates the construction of roads across the country. And so you're getting an entirely different kind of construction. The traffic is heading towards the East Coast. You're getting an entirely different kind of construction depending on who the contractor is. Now the shoulder of the road here has not been paved. I think it was paved up to that section. And I'm assuming that a different contractor was engaged to construct that part of the East Coast Bypass Road. But this part that we're now on, with the unpaved shoulder, is probably constructed by the Indian government, the Indian companies. But this is where we are on the East Coast Bypass Road. Now, like I said, I'm not going to head all the way to the end because I think it's a little too late for me to do so on a day when it's not raining, but it could start raining at any point, and the sun is coming up. It's going to be very sharp, quite hot in a few minutes from now. By 9 a.m. it's going to be really unbearably hot. It's about 8 a.m. now, and I want to get out of the heat in a reasonable time. But this is it, guys. This is what is happening here at the East Coast Bypass Road. I mentioned the median. The last time we were here in this neck of the woods, they hadn't yet completed the median. They hadn't even completed the road surface. What is good is that this road surface is much smoother than the concussion road. That is the Heroes Highway. And you can see it in the vehicles, even the trucks, right? In fact, you will see them bouncing. If you watch on the vehicles traveling on Heroes Highway, coming at some speed, you could see them bouncing and vibrating as the surface of the road undulates, and it's not smooth. Here it's different. They've managed to cover this road with asphalt, and they've gotten a smooth finish. So the vehicles are actually traveling with a much smoother effect. You can see that the wheels are actually quite stable and not bouncing around. But yeah, like I said, it's still unsafe for me to drive in this country by my estimation, by my calculation. And for that reason, until I solve, or the government solves the problem with safety, which involves a number of things, like I said, building those overpasses instead of relying on traffic circles, putting in barriers that prevent vehicles from disobeying the law, Jersey barriers, for example, on divided highways, so that you have to crash into or crash through a concrete barrier before you end up on the wrong side of the road, going in the wrong direction. In fact, I think there was one fatal accident on the weekend earlier this week. What day? Today is Friday? Yeah, earlier this week. Friday the 4th of July. Well, happy 4th of July to our American friends. But one of the accidents happened on the East Coast because of vehicles going in the wrong direction. So there was a 3-car collision, but one of them seems to have either jumped over the median, ended up in the wrong direction, caused a head-on collision, killed several people. So that's the kind of accident that is preventable, that has to be solved. But that's it, guys. I'm going to stop here because I don't want to complete the length of the road in this video. In the future, I'm probably going to take a look at the entire length of this new highway. I just wanted to give you an understanding for the fact that this road is now open. This is the East Coast Bypass Road, and I want to get to this point because I want to show you what's happening here. This is the new government buildings that are being constructed, and I'm going to show you that in the next video. So share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here in the fastest growing country in the world, at the newest of bypass highways that was constructed here on the East Coast Bypass Road. Later!